We have over 60 people registered for today, so I'm just giving all of us a moment to gather. We are so appreciative for y'all being here today. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time. Great. Okay, in the interest of time and respect for those who are here, I want to welcome everybody. My name is Rita Walters. I'm Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations. And we are so excited that you are joining us today. You know, one of the things that I've come to appreciate the most, I think, about being at Union is being surrounded by people who care so deeply for our institution and a theological education, and the really hard work that's happening here each and every day. My colleagues, Charlene Visconti, she's Dean of Students, and Vanessa Hutchinson, Vice President of Admissions and Financial Aid, have been so thoughtful under the leadership of President Serene Jones about how we keep this community connected, how we attract new seminarians, and how do we bring our students back to campus safely. Many thanks to each of you for joining this talk, as I mentioned. And we are here to answer questions. You'll hear a short presentation. Serene Jones will welcome each of you, give you an update on Union, and then you will hear from each of our colleagues. There will be time at the end of this for a Q&A, but you can start putting those questions in chat as soon as you have them available, and we will try to get to each and every question. So without any further ado, I turn this over to Dr. Serene Jones.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be on Zoom with you. I am happy to start the conversation by letting you know that in so many ways, Union continues to be the seminary that it has always been, one that puts the cares and concerns of the world at the center of the education it offers. And particularly at this moment in time, those pressing concerns and needs are front and center for everyone in our nation, indeed our globe. Issues of racial justice, issues related to the pandemic, immigration, economic equality, and the list goes on. All of these continue to be an essential part of the work that Union does in the classroom and outside of the classroom. On the campus itself, we're in a time of renewal as we are imagining the work of Union into the future in new and different ways. We're very happy that the newly renovated Hastings Hall and the newly renovated physical plant underneath Hastings was finished in time for us to welcome back to campus this year a full cohort of students who have new and beautiful spaces to live in. We're also opening our arms even wider this year and into the future as we develop new programs. We have certificates that we're launching, which are 4 course programs in areas going from chaplaincy and spiritual care to a new program in religion and the Black experience. And next year, we're launching a new 1-year online degree in social justice. It's exciting because this breadth of public programming that we're doing not only reaches to students who want specific education in classrooms, but has a public dimension to it that reaches far beyond those who will ever enroll at Union, but are really interested in all the many things that we teach here. I could keep going with all the exciting things happen, but I want to turn it over to our 2 main speakers. And I'm going to start by introducing Dean Charlene Visconti, who was extremely, to use the word extremely doesn't even begin to capture it, but instrumental in keeping the Union community vibrant and connected throughout COVID. We did not just shut down last year. We didn't just shut down. Our classes continued and our community life continued online. And we opened up again this year with very strict rules about what campus life involved, but also celebrating our being together again. And Charlene has led us through that process. So Dean Viscanti, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks very much. It's really nice to be here. I think it's correct to say that we have always been open and we've always been functioning. But what happened this year, that was what we were all waiting for over the past 18 months, was that we welcomed back our full community. And it coincided with the opening of Hastings Hall, which is a beautiful facility where most of our students are living now. And using it to its full capacity. There's beautiful common spaces where they are all gathering, and all of them are really quite happy with the accommodations. A few building kinks to work out, as any new building, but in the main, students are quite happy. What we did this year was we welcomed back a full new class of over 90 people, and Vanessa will tell you more about that later, to an in-person orientation, which was wonderful. We had amazing participation in all of our sessions. And then we moved on to mostly in-person classes with some mix of online classes. And we found that our students responded really positively to being all back together on campus. I want to say right from the beginning that we have been open since September 1st, and we have not had a single COVID case, nor have we had a student have to isolate or quarantine because of a COVID exposure. And the reason for that, I have to say, is the foresight that the leadership took early on in the spring when some people weren't making these decisions. And we decided that we were going to be a fully vaccinated community. We were going to open in person. We were going to have students here, but we were going to be fully vaccinated. And I think that has really been the reason why we are so successful. So just to tell you a little bit about how we maintain that, I will say that right from the beginning of the COVID outbreak, we've been meeting weekly with our partners at Columbia Health. And they have developed a protocol for keeping their campus and all the affiliate campuses safe. And that involves an elaborate testing program. They do water testing as well, COVID testing of all the community members, a masking policy and a distancing policy based on what's going on in our community, in the Morningside Heights community, and then in the New York City community. And it has been enormously successful. All of our students are vaccinated, all of them have been tested as they come here, and all of them participate in surveillance testing, random surveillance testing. And from that, Columbia has found that if there is spread, and they, of course, a larger community, have a little bit more than we do, but if there is spread, it is not coming from the classrooms and it's not coming from the offices, it's coming from social events. As we all know, all those of us in our own lives, that's where it is happening. And we are finding that our students are extremely compliant with our masking policy. We're required to be masked everywhere indoors. And with all of the other social distancing and requirements around dining together. So we have found that to be very successful, which is not to say I don't want to give the impression that we're not having any fun, because we are having a lot of fun. All of our students are working together, our student life assistants, the student senate, they're all joining forces to provide lots of programming on campus. And some remote programming, but mostly programming on campus with, safe social distancing for eating, but socializing with each other. So it has really been a very successful reopening, if we want to call it that. Re-welcoming is what I would prefer to say. And I'll be available later to answer any questions, but I think those are primarily the points I wanted to make.
And Charlene, I'll just add one thing in that you mentioned that we welcomed an entering class, but we also welcomed to campus last year's entering class, which came to campus for the first time this fall. So really wonderful. 2 classes came in.
That's true. And we still have third-year students as well who returned back to campus, but we did a beautiful convocation for both last year's class and this year's class.
So next, I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa Hutchinson, who is the Vice President for Admissions and is playing a key role in every part of Union's work to move us forward in terms of expanding and building out our entering class. And Vanessa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Serene, and just wanted to say thank you all for joining us. I know just seeing the names, I've met some of you and I've had that pleasure, and I hope to meet all of you at some point during my time at Union, but I appreciate you taking the time to learn, how we're experiencing this return to campus, because, I think Serene, Rita, and Charlene touched on it, but it really was emotional for us to return to the work that we're all committed to doing in person and seeing that bear out. And that emotion was felt by our students and our incoming students. And so I'm really happy to say that we were able to start, what maybe a year ago, there was a little bit of trepidation and uncertainty, but I think what turned out to be really engaging, a lot of enthusiasm and even joy in coming back into community at Union. And so I'm happy to say that we had a very strong recruitment cycle for the fall 21 incoming class. Enrollment was up 24% versus last year, where we were, the fall 20 class was really they were completely online, and we were having conversations about seminary at the height of the COVID impact in New York City. So it was a very different environment. And we didn't know what to expect, but I think I'm very thankful to be part of such a wonderful team of people under Serene's leadership, that we all put our heads together. We were very transparent with our students, and we made decisions early for the benefit of our community and for the safety of our community. And our prospective students understood that as well, because we communicated with them about the return to campus, about our vaccination policy. And what we learned was that our audience of seminarians very much wanted to return to Union, and we saw that in our results. So we had over 103 students deposit, and in September we had 94 of them start. And so we did see a little bit here and there. One or two international students couldn't make it through the travel restrictions, and a handful of students changed their plans because of the Delta variant. But what we found, even compared to our peer institutions, that our students were committed and enthusiastic about coming to Union, because they do see an experience here that they can't find easily elsewhere. And we hear that time and time again when we sit down in our one-on-one conversations with our prospective students. And, one of the interesting things about COVID was that we actually expanded our virtual advisement. And so my partner, Carmen Smith, who's a Union alum, and we actually spoke one-on-one for at least 20 minutes with almost at least half of the students that applied to Union and most of the incoming class. And so I say that from lived experiences, having talked to many of them about their decision-making, how important it was for them to come. And so we had a very strong recruitment cycle in a time where some of our peer institutions were anticipating smaller class sizes. Some only saw growth in their online offerings. Many students were in regions where they lost students, which is in the summer due to the Delta variant. So they saw their enrollment actually impacted by the rise of the Delta variant. And we didn't experience that. We actually brought in a class that is very similar to what we would normally want to see in our pre-COVID cycle. So we were really happy. And they're extremely strong students. So we actually did that while increasing our selectivity rate. So we actually had a large enough pool of applicants that we could be more selective. And so we have amongst our class students who are best-selling novelists, students who are faculty at other institutions, students who are artists, lawyers, professionals. I think we're seeing an increase, maybe a little tick up in the average age of our students, where we have many students who have had a full and accomplished career, but then recognize seminary as being important to them, and also our most diverse class of students. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the numbers with just a few slides, so not very much, but we're very proud of the recruitment that we were able to do that not only brought wonderful students, but increased the diversity where 47% of our students are people of color this year. So we're quite happy. And what our enrollment students told us, what they were excited about, is that they're excited about our new course offerings and our new concentration. So our new chaplaincy concentration, the new religion and the Black experience concentration, all of the work that we've been doing now that we're in our third year, actually beginning our fourth year with the Anglican Studies program, and we just graduated our first cohort last spring. That program is drawing a lot of interest, and also the Buddhism and IE program as well is drawing a whole new audience of students that are excited about the potential of studying at Union in an environment that values not only social justice, but interreligious engagement. And that's bearing itself out in our student body. And so if you don't mind, I will share a little bit of information because many of you are just curious to see how things are changing. And sometimes it's helpful to talk a little bit about that information with a visual. So I am going to share my slides, but so that you can see for yourself that these aren't just anecdotes, but this is really bearing itself out in lived life. And so I will share this information right here. And so I mentioned that our student body is growing even more diverse. And I'm just going to maybe walk through some of the demographics of the class. And so as I mentioned, 47% of our students are students of color across, when you're looking at across all of dimensions and from all racial groups. 56% of our students are women. And also many of our students are either first generation college or first generation grad school. So we are really an institution that's expanding opportunity for our student body. 46%, almost half of our student body, they are the first person in their family to attend a graduate school program. 34% of our students identify as LGBT, as part of the LGBTQI community, which is very important to us because it's important that we are always inclusive and a welcoming space. And so many of our students tell us that they find opportunities at Union that they can't easily find elsewhere. And it's very important to us. And then we're also global. And 13% of our students are international, many of them from India and China, where particularly some of them from Christian denominations where they're part of a minority within their own home country. And so we provide study at Union that they're not always easily able to get in their home country. We're also very diverse regionally. So one of the things I'm very happy to say is that, last year with COVID, 60% of our students were from the tri-state area. And this year we're very spread evenly across the country. So we're a program with a national scope and reach of students. 31% of our students are from the tri-state area, so New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, but we're pulling a significant number of students from the West Coast, from the Mid-Atlantic region, from the South, and other parts of the country. And so when we think about how, just the movement that's started to occur in the country because of COVID and also because of other demographic shifts, I think we can be proud that we are an institution that has a broad and even international reach for our student population, that people are willing to travel here to come meet us. And when we actually launch our online programs in another year, that's really going to expand opportunity and access to our what we have to offer even more for our students. And then just to talk a little bit about, you are all educated at Union, you're familiar with our programs and concentration. So I thought it would be nice to just show you a little bit of how, what's happening today. What our students are being attracted to today in our MA and our MDiv program. And what you can see is that some of our newest concentrations that really take advantage of the way Union is able to bring together a student's vocational interest with our strong academic rigor in ways that they can go out into the world and make a difference. So looking at our chaplaincy program, which really is a timely program that that allows students, whether it's in the hospital setting, whether it's in prisons or other settings, or even movement chaplaincy, allows students to take everything that they learn at Union in the classroom and then really bring it out into the world that impacts their community. Those are the kinds of concentrations that our MDiv students are really interested in. When we look at, it's interesting that for the first year, the Buddhism and IE concentration was at the top of our list. And that is actually an offshoot of the new chaplaincy program, because we're seeing both people who are interested in being either interreligious chaplains or Buddhist chaplains that are interested in Union because of the new chaplaincy concentration and the opportunity to have an experience that they can't easily find elsewhere. But there's still lots of interest in all of our traditional concentrations, including social ethics, interreligious engagement, theology and the arts, Bible and cross testament. All of the programs, I think, our faculty are still of interest to all of our students. But obviously the opportunity to take that rigorous education and then put it to use helping others and supporting others is something that is quite interesting to our student population at Union. And then the last little bit of information that I'll bring to you about our demographics of our incoming class is that just a little bit about, what are the traditions that are represented within our incoming class of students, and what we're seeing more and more frequently. And I think this is really a sign of our changing demographic and, the fact that many students are spiritual, but they're not necessarily focused on a particular tradition or denomination, is that, for the first year, this is the first year that I've been here, where we actually had students who selected other as being our number one, selection in terms of their religious affiliation for our incoming class. Second was our Episcopalian students, because we do have such a wonderful alignment with EDS, and we're attracting strong Anglican and Episcopalian students to the program. But then non-denominational students is the number 3 group. And so it's really, I think, a testament not only to the changing demographic of our student population, but also a marker of the emergence of Union and our reputation as a strong and hospitable place for people who are interested in interreligious engagement. And people knowing that they have the freedom to bring with them their own tradition into an environment that's rich and be in community with people from other traditions. And so there's a lot of comfort. We hear that all the time when we talk to our incoming students, how they value our commitment to interreligious education. So I'm going to stop sharing there, because I know that you will want to ask questions, not only of me, but also of my colleagues on the phone. But I'm happy just to share a little bit of what we're learning about our student body. And also, you'll probably hear from Serene how wonderful they are in the classroom, because she's had the opportunity to teach almost all of them with our new UT 101 course. And so we know that they're fitting quite well into the classroom at Union. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Serene. Thank you, Charlene. If we were in person right now, you would hear thunderous applause, but you have me to say how we deeply appreciate the time that you took to be with all of us today. We do have a few questions that are coming in. And before I ask the first question, just a little bit of housekeeping. I wanted to also, if you could just take a note, if you will, our friends who are in cyberspace, on Tuesday, October 26th, at 12:30, we will have another Knowledge and Nourishment. That will be all on new programming. So you heard Vanessa allude to our new programming, programs, and we ask that you come back and learn more about that in detail. So first question up, and I think this is of you, Vanessa. What are some of the reasons that diversity is increasing at Union?
So one of the reasons I think there's a couple of reasons. One, I always look, we've gone through 18 months of challenge, and I'm always of the mindset that there are risks and opportunities in times of challenge. And so in admissions, rather than, when we completely went off online, rather than look at that as a disruption to our ability to reach and speak to students, we actually leaned into it and expanded our programs. And we actually engaged, as I had mentioned, with more people. So not only were we able to talk to people who were willing to travel to Union to visit our campus or travel to a graduate school fair where we could talk to them in person, but we opened up our calendar. So myself and Carmen, we had a freely online calendar. Anyone interested in talking to us could just take 2 minutes to schedule an appointment. And we spoke to, I myself spoke to about, 100 people. Carmen also spoke to about 100 different people, which given that our total applicant pool is about 250, that's almost all of them. So, we were speaking to people who couldn't actually make it to Union normally. So they maybe didn't have the opportunity to travel. They may have had a family. And so we saw a real uptick in the diversity of applicant that realized that they could now engage with us, because before they thought, well, maybe, I can't travel to New York, so I don't know if this is the right institution for me. The other piece of it is that we actually did, on top of adding the new online recruitment, we expanded our diversity recruitment. So we planned an event as we were preparing to roll out the Religion Black Experience concentration, we actually planned an HBCU mixer event. It was our first, where we did more than just go to one school, but we actually opened it, sent an invitation to all HBCUs and just invited people to attend. It was a small attendance, but it's something that we're committed to doing every year. We did outreach with Latinx churches along with Professor Sam Cruz. And so, what we wanted to do was reaffirm our commitment to reaching out. Even if the first try we may have 4 attendees, 5 attendees, but it's that consistent engagement that we're committed to, whether it's online. I think we can be just as hospitable and do it the Union way and be a community, even if we're not in the same room. And so, we started that this year and we saw that bear fruit. I think also Union as an institution committing to the Religion and Black Experience concentration, and also some of our recent faculty hires as well, which also show Union's commitment to diversity and social justice. Students recognize that. And it mattered to all of our students, not just our students of color, but all of our students remarked upon our faculty hires. They were very excited to see Cornel Welsh come back to Union, very excited about the RBE concentration at Union. We heard that from many incoming students.
Wonderful, thank you. I will also add that our alums play such an important role in our recruitment process as well. Your good experience in staying connected to the institution and telling others really does make a huge difference. And I want to say thank you for that as well. Our next question, I think this is directed towards Charlene. What percentage of students actually live on campus now? And second part, are you able to accommodate the same numbers as before? And the last part I will take, is there any way to see the changes to Hastings Hall? So we do have, and we can put that back in the chat, a link. We did take a tour through Knowledge and Nourishment, probably last March or maybe May or so, where we actually took you through Hastings Hall. But we do plan on doing that again, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, you can see as soon as the renovation was completed, Serene and myself and another colleague actually walked through that process. So you get to kind of sneak inside the bedrooms and apartments. Yeah, but Charlene, would you like to answer that first question? So what percentage of students live on campus, and can we still accommodate the same amount of students as before?
So yes, we certainly can accommodate the same amount of students. We have right now about 45% of our students live on campus, and we're accommodating them in a wide variety of apartment types. So we have enough room for families, for singles, for students who want to live in dormitories. And that number is actually right about the same as it was pre-COVID. So students are all coming back. And we're even allowed to put aside the required quarantine rooms that we have to put aside for the state, and still have room for students who are coming back, some of them mid-semester. We've just heard about a few more who have seen how beautiful it is and they want to come back in the spring. So, and even though it's not our entire student population, the largest percentage of our students, upward of 80%, live right in the area. Really, many of them walking distance or very short commute. So the community is really thriving. It really is thriving this year.
It feels really super healthy, just as a person who every once in a while I work late into the evening, and to see the students around and, like you said, outdoors and indoors, and it's just really, really, it is very emotional. I think Vanessa hit the nail on the head when she said that. And so it's just been really amazing.
I'm sorry, Rita.
Oh, no, please go right ahead.
I just wanted to add that I should say that we also have the space to accommodate our commuter students with separate rooms for them to study in or to zoom into class if they're taking a hybrid load. So it really has, the addition of and the renovation of Hastings Hall has really expanded our capacity, and it really is wonderful.
I just want to jump in here and say that when we were designing the renovation, we talked to the students extensively about what kind of living situation that would be most attractive to them. And we completely reformulated the kinds of spaces we have. So we went from having primarily dorm rooms, which had been the case for a long time, to having some dorm rooms, some studio apartments with their own kitchens, some suites that have 2 rooms and a kitchen and a bathroom, and some apartments for families. And we tried to hit the right number of the combination in this so that any sort of living situation, we would have space for students to find it here. And that's made a big difference.
Serene, this is a great segue because the next question is actually for you. And one person asked, what is the status of the new building?
So it is really quite remarkable to watch the new building going up. I think it's later this week, in fact, they're going to finish the exterior infrastructure and start focusing primarily on the interior of the building. One of the benefits of COVID was that the noisiest part of the construction actually happened when the campus was pretty empty. And now we actually have the exterior facades, which are stone facades that are made to match the facades of Union buildings, are actually being put in place, huge segments at a time. So if you're anywhere in the vicinity, you should stop by and look. The building, I have to say, is beautiful. And I hear this from people passing on the street, to events that I go to. They're surprised that in Morningside Heights, after all the building that's gone on over the years, that this is the first beautiful building that they've seen. And it looks like Union. It's got all the neo-Gothic features of arched windows and details that aren't symmetrical, but interesting. So I encourage people to stop and take a look. The date for completion and for when our faculty move into new apartments in that building is hopefully the early summer of 23 or late spring 23.
Great, thank you. Our next question, Charlene, this is for you. The Burke Library, is it open for short-term research visits?
Yes, it is open, and our students are using it. Our policy, of course, is that everybody, including visitors to the academic building, have to be vaccinated, but it's open.
Yeah, and I would just add, for our alumni, if you would like to come in, please, you can find me right on the website or find anyone from the development office on the website. I'll also give you my cellular line. It's 443-610-3403. And I'll say it again slowly, 443-610-3403. 3403. And please call us or email us if you'd like to come to campus. As Charlene mentioned, you must be fully vaccinated. You can do that process with us in advance if you're so comfortable in doing so, or you may just come to the desk where we will meet you at the desk. Show your vaccine to our personnel who will be seated at the desk, and then we will escort you to Burke Library on campus to make sure you get there, arrive safely. You must wear a mask at all times at any of the public spaces in our building. But we would love, love, love to have you on campus. This spring, we look forward to having reunion where we will actually, it will be a hybrid approach, where we invite those who are in the area back to campus, and you'll hear more about that soon. I think we have a few more questions here, and we have a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the next question. And so, Vanessa, we have a person who asked if we can make the student stacks available to the student statistics that you offered, available to alumni and alumnae.
Sure, I'm always happy to share information. I'll probably check with our academic office just to make sure that everything is DSRPA protected. But I will also put my email in the chat. So if you're interested in a copy, you can please just email me and I can share that.
Right, great, thank you. And then last, but certainly not least, and I think this is for all of you to answer. What you talked a little bit about this, but if we can go deeper, what have been the biggest challenges to the opening up of campus again? And I think Charlene said we never quite close, but to bring students back. Yeah. Vanessa, should we start with you?
Well, I can definitely tell you, to speaking to prospective students who are interested in our community, but not yet part of it, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but I think one of the things that Student Union did well was being transparent and making decisions early and communicating our thought process. And so that was true during the year of COVID, but also true in returning to campus, that quite early, Serene made it clear that we were trying to return to campus and that we were seeing, is there a window and a path to do that? And given, we made that decision in the spring, as we advise students on their decision-making, giving that information and also sharing information about Charlene's plans to have a 100% vaccinated campus was very important, because it allowed people to, one, become comfortable with what does it mean to come back to community, and then also make their own plans in accordance. And so, communications was a huge part of the whole process. And, that was one, from my perspective, this is where I think Union did it right. And so I give thanks to Serene, to Charlene, who are at the heart of many of those tough decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Right. Charlene, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I would say I agree with everything that Vanessa is saying, and we're continuing to practice that. And if we forget, the students will remind us, right, that we need to constantly be in communication with them. I just sent an email out to students about all of the necessary reminders and information that they need to know about staying healthy. But I do think that one of the challenges was keeping students in community, right? So we needed to work hard while students were away to keep them in community by offering a lot of remote programming. And then in the summer to sort of amp that up a little bit and give them some opportunities to get together and talk about what it's going to feel like now that they are coming back into community. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. All of the departments, not just student life. I think academic affairs and admissions, everyone did a really good job of keeping the students engaged throughout the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, and now to continue to do that for them. And we are still continuing to offer some online programs for students. We have PhD students who have chosen to stay out of state because they're in their writing phase, but we want everyone just to really be part of the community. So I know that working with student groups, we're trying to be conscious of that we continue to give them many opportunities to engage with us.
And Serene, I'd like for you to have the last word on this topic, if you will, please.
Yes, I'll name, I think, two challenges. One is we are really saddened by the number of international students who are not able to get their visas approved, who were so excited about coming, who had scholarships supporting them, huge communities behind them. And they're such a crucial part of the community, and we can really feel that absence. And hopefully next year and going forward, that will change. The other thing that we were aware of during the shutdown and continue to be aware as students return is just of the mental health toll that the pandemic has taken on students. We have a very active, thanks to our development office and our very generous alums, an emergency fund to support students. And maybe even more importantly, we're still supporting a fund that offers $500 to each student for any kind of off-campus, on-campus, however they want to do it, mental health care. So we're taking the mental health of students very seriously and giving them support they need. It's a challenge that everyone's confronting, but if you don't create an infrastructure to address it, I think it can be pretty detrimental to student learning.
Yeah, and I can just say, just from talking to students, sort of randomly, but that's been so deeply appreciated by so many. And you said it, so thank you to all of you who are out there who continue to support Union Theological Seminary in ways big and small. We appreciate it all. We are so very grateful to each of you. Every time we ask, you say yes, you stay connected to your institution. And we want you to know that we appreciate everything that you do on behalf of all of those that we serve. I think our chair of our development committee is on the line and watching as well. And I join her in expressing our deepest and deepest gratitude. Please look out for great programming, because part of what of staying connected last year was also all of you who signed up for Knowledge and Nourishment and came to Union at Home and did all of these wonderful things to stay involved with your alma mater. And we look forward to continuing that approach this year. Again, as I mentioned, we hope to have everyone back on campus in spring for reunion, but do not feel badly if you cannot come back to New York City. Our programming will be as robust as ever for online programming. So we still want to make that community connection with each of you. We recognize that we are a human enterprise using technology as a conduit. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Again, thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Serene. And again, applause, applause, applause. And thank you for each of you who spent part of your day with us. We deeply appreciate you, and we hope to see you October 26th.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Bye.